Happy Monday, everybody. Today we are going over a bit of a channel update. So a bit of a channel update, like I said. First things first, I want to reach out to the community and say thank you. I really appreciate everybody subscribing. We finally hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, and it's pretty cool. It actually makes it feel like you're not spinning your wheels trying to make headway, and kind of a big milestone as a first-time YouTuber, finally getting to that monetizable, possibilities in the future. So that's really cool. Had plenty of watch time for a while now. It's just strictly hitting that subscriber mark, and I'm not one to do the like and subscribe thing. It drives me nuts on other people's videos, but this will be my one-time shill that I really appreciate you guys doing that. And if you know anybody else that might be interested in the content I produce, please push them my way, because word of mouth is the only way I do this. Good content is what I hope I'm creating for everybody. But big thank you to everybody for doing that. And so I have a little bit of a special video series planned. I had a commenter reach out to me asking some questions about starting in the N-scale world, and so I'm kind of doing a mentorship video with him. We'll kind of see where it goes. I got to do some editing of the initial kind of talk that we had, but I think it was productive and it's helpful, really. What I run into is I've been doing this long enough that some of the simple things that a beginner really struggles with, I kind of just gloss over, like it's just obvious to me. So he had some really good questions, kind of like, are all couplers compatible? I honestly wouldn't even think to bring that up. It's just something that I deal with all the time. So you know who you are. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. So hopefully in the next couple weeks I can get that edited. And when you get your equipment, we're going to do a couple videos, hopefully, on setting up your DCC system and whatnot. And I think it's going to be a really good piece of content for the channel. So that's kind of my 1,000 subscriber special, and I hope people like it. Other thing I want to do is I want to reach out to the community and ask a question. And this sucks because I'm a little bit torn, because creators, especially reviewers, we want work relationships with the people that make the products that we review. And when we do bad reviews and that type of stuff, it tends to put kind of a sour taste in their mouth. And sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. Occasionally you get that one-off engine that you have an issue with and you give it a bad review, and it isn't necessarily fair. I try my best to weigh that out when I can. And as I am progressing further in the hobby, I am a little concerned with something, and it has to do with the stuff I've got sitting on the layout at the moment here. And when I first kind of stepped into the N-scale hobby a couple of years ago, coming from HO, this was the brand that everybody said is untouchable. They build the best stuff. They're kind of up there with Kato in terms of the mysticism around the name. And especially 2021, 2022, coming across those locomotives was difficult to do, especially if you didn't have them pre-ordered. Not to mention all of the back order situations and just general poor availability at the time. So when I kind of got into this in 2020 again, because everybody needed something to do, obviously, trying to find one of these engines right here was relatively difficult to do. And this is a version 4 lock sound rivet counter, BNSF Tier 4 Gevo. And got my hands on that quite a bit after having a CSX unit, a CSX, a UP. I've got my 2022 demo, and I have a non-sound version 2015 demo. And I've been hunting for a BNSF for quite a while now. And when I did find that one, I'd have all those units. Not one of them was a problem, but I was buying them kind of used or new stock on eBay, so they were probably tested beforehand. And 100% reliability on those. Those were excellent engines. Come into last year, beginning of this year, some of the pre-orders were starting to become available, as well as engines to, just buy from their store. The first one I picked up was the Gettle back here. And I totally attribute the decoder in the front engine dying to my old version of this right here. The fact of the matter is it did burn up. And the tender on it was very finicky when I first got it. Now that it has been repaired, the tender works properly. They never mentioned that they did anything with it, but it does work like it's supposed to. The lights function like they're supposed to. They're not flashy. I think they did some work on it. But yeah, from the factory, the tender, the light didn't function hardly at all. I mean, occasionally it would come on. It's semi-DCC controlled as far as I'm aware. In reverse, it comes on, and I don't know if that's kind of using a DC light board or something of that nature. But anyway, it does function properly now. So two components of that didn't necessarily work right. So that had to go back to scale trains. Then come my two operator GEVOs, and you can go back and find my video where I talked about it. 3779 had a pinched wire, and that's why it wasn't functioning well. I personally got into it and did the work on it. It wasn't difficult to fix. However, issue with the unit. And I reached out to Scale Trains because of it, mainly because 3787 was a very loud engine. It burned up shortly after I reached out to Scale Trains, like the decoder died in it. And that one, I fully expected that motor to cause that problem. There was no way that thing sounded correct. And it's difficult to pick up on video, but it really had bad tone to it. So something was wrong with it. And yeah, the decoder burned up because it was pulling too much load. Had to send that back to Scale Trains. Got the new one, flawless ever since. Runs just as quiet as 3779, so it's not like something was up there. So that's 3 out of 3 units that I've picked up from the Scale Train store that I had issues with. I've only had experience with version 4 lock sound locomotives in the GEVOs anyway. And I do believe my 2015 might be a lock sound V5. I'd have to get into it. The thing that I'm unsure of is it has the holes on the bottom of the fuel tank where the old version 4s don't. So it might be a transition era model. I'm not totally sure. But what I got right here is a version 5. And I decided to pick this one up from Lombard just to see if maybe, retailers got slightly different units than what Scale Trains has. So I get it, and I immediately have problems with it. It would go for about 2 minutes running, and I have video of this. I will post it at some point, where the train will just go and it would get quiet. And it had a squealing noise when it stopped that was so ear-wrenching, and it was exactly the same every time. It made exactly the same noise. I reached out to Scale Trains because they weren't upset, but in the email they told me, we wish you wouldn't post this stuff without reaching out to us first. We were happy to fix this, get it right with you, but you shouldn't post this stuff before we take a look at it. Cool. I appreciate that. I'm not working with them in any way. I would love to, but it's things like this that probably are going to stop that from happening. But in the interest of being honest, I'm not going to shill products if the people I'm trying to work with aren't good to me about it. Anyway, had issues with that. I know they're going through a bunch of stuff right now, but it took about 2 weeks to get the things resolved. They gave me some tips on, there's a function, it's like function 32 or something of that nature, I disabled with my lock programmer. It's an automatic dimming noise. I don't know why anybody would use it, or not dimming, but have your sound taper off. disabled it, suddenly everything worked. However, I still got that screeching noise when the engine would come to a stop. Ran perfectly silent forward backwards, but as soon as you come to a stop, it would make that screeching noise. Kind of like brakes, but it wasn't tied to the sound at all. And I mean, it was loud. It was ear-wrenchingly loud. And the video that I took really does actually pick that up pretty well. Got that sent back to him and got the unit that you see sitting here earlier this week. Got it out of the box. Sound files don't work. The engine won't move, or I should say the loaded sound file doesn't work. The sound functioned, but the engine didn't move. Had really no motor control at all. I had to totally reflash the sound file on that to get the engine to work at all. If you were an end user that didn't have a lock programmer, which I think most people don't, it's kind of an expensive feature to have, that engine would have had to go back to scale trains again to get repaired. And honestly, I wouldn't have known what to do other than I'll just try reflashing the sound file for it and see if that fixes the issue. And sure enough, it did. Been flawless ever since. I plan on doing a review on it in the future. It's got some nifty little changes I want to talk about. And so we'll get to that a little bit in the future. I kind of wanted to hurry the review out, to be honest with you, mainly because they're selling out pretty quick and they're actually a pretty good price right now on most of the website as well as the Scale Train store. But the fact of the matter is I need to test the locomotive properly before I do a review. And when you got almost 3 weeks of sending stuff back and forth, it really slows down the review process. So has anyone else had issues with scale trains lately? Because I am 5 for 5 on locomotives that have issues. And simple issues, things that it's not like the mechanics are, not put together properly in some cases. It's kind of finagly things like run the engine a little bit before you ship it off or something to that nature. I don't know how their, product support deals with that stuff, but it was a little odd to me that I sent an engine in for not functioning properly after talking to them multiple times over a couple weeks and then getting an engine in return that didn't function. So a little bit of hesitation anymore recommending these guys. But yeah, has anyone else dealt with this? Because it sure seems like it's been a thing in the last 6 months or so. So I'm reaching out to the community to see if any of you guys have dealt with that. And then the other thing I want to chat about is moving forward. I plan on continuing what I'm doing. I'm trying to get a better schedule figured out. I can only do a review every other week currently, especially with my time frame, with how my kid takes up some of my parenting time is starting to move up as he gets a little bit older. But the Sunday night thing, I'm trying to work out a way to do that. I kind of like doing live streams. Not really sure how I'm going to do it in the future. I'm trying to find a better time maybe on Sunday to do it. So if anybody has any recommendations, I would appreciate that, as well as maybe something you want to see. Just hang out, ask questions, run some trains, watch them go around, or I occasionally like to hit Train Sim World and run some GPs. That's kind of my jam, but I can do all that or whatever. Just would like to have a time when the community could get on and ask me questions live, and I could answer them as best as I could. So hit me up if you got ideas that way. And again, thank you everybody. I really appreciate the 1,000 subscribers. It really does make me feel like I am making progress with what I'm doing here, and this isn't all in vain. I really try to provide something that I don't think anybody else does. It seems like all these train reviews are, yeah, we got sent this cool engine, look at it go around the loop a couple times, it's super nice, it's quiet, does this cool sound stuff, and then yeah, you should go out and buy one. I legitimately test these locomotives for a long period of time, so I'm hoping I'm providing something that you guys appreciate. So with that said, everybody have a good week. This Wednesday, I hope to do a little bit more work on the layout. I got some painting to do, and I will talk about what I'm doing there. Hopefully you guys tuned in to my Sunday kind of sort of stream that I posted. I had something going on. yesterday night. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye now.